That's why I called for the Golden Gate to be opened collectively, not just as a Jewish messianic, let's reclaim the temple and build the third temple and sacrifice our goats again. But no, let's have a genuine messianic collective enlightenment on the planet and open the Golden Gate together. So I would say, if we can get Saturn, I think he should come obviously the Court of Justice in The Hague aren't going to go into the theology that I'm talking about. They don't have capacity intellectually to do that. But I think until we do, we're not going to solve this problem of conflicts around Jerusalem and the Middle East, because it is a theological dispute deep down. Certainly the settlers are invoking a very, very strict and narrow view of what the Messiah is going to be. He's going to save them, but not the Palestinians, not the Christians, not the Muslims. He's going to kill all of them. Well, this is a very retrograde idea. So I think if my Jewish colleagues could get with this realization that actually, we need to rethink this plot line of Zionism, and if we recognize that it's part of this yearning for paradise for all of us, then we can rewrite where we go from here. I don't see that mass bombing the people of Gaza is going to help us all get there. I would say it's going to build up generations of resentment and bitterness and pain. I think Netanyahu should actually face a court, because he's committed not just war crimes in Gaza and genocidal acts, but also against his own people. He's the subject of many legal hearings in Israel itself. And I think Israel needs to change course back to the Israel of Rabin, who was prepared to make peace deals with Palestinians because it's in their common interest. But anyway, I think Saturn is interesting. We can invoke him as part of that learning process. Just a little aside here. I've just finished a very, very important book written by a biblical scholar about who wrote the Gospel of Luke. And he claims it was Flavia Domitilla, who was related to the Flavian dynasty that gave us Vespasian, Titus, and Domitian, who succeeded as emperor after Titus. Flavia Domitilla was a woman who became a Christian and who was punished for that, and was exiled, and her husband was killed, a man called Clemens. He presents very, very interesting evidence that this upper-class imperial lady, Flavia Domitilla, may well have been the secret hand behind the Gospel of Luke, because, I think in my commentary on the Gospel of Luke, I go with the idea that it was Luke, but I'm open to other suggestions. And I think there's enough evidence in this book that means we should reopen the case. And it was Domitian who then had the husband killed. He became a fierce persecutor of Christians. He didn't like it, because it was calling for peace between the Jews and the Romans. Gospel of Luke and Acts, by the same author, is presenting a way out of the conflict between fierce Romans who just worship Roman religion and hate the Jews, or fierce Jews who hate Romans and just worship their God. Flavia Domitilla said, no, let's go with this Christian idea of universal love. Anyway, let's suspend judgment. It's possibly true. Right, let's move on and look at our runes. We'll finish by invoking the Kabbalah runes and see, is there a final solution here, a way out of these conflicts? What is it in human nature that, seems to like these wars? Aha. Right, thank you.
Lovely, thank you. Clouds and the bag.
Yeah.
Oh.
Right. Ah. That's pretty good. So we've got the first one is Ing, which I think we had last week. Ing. Ing is the god of love. He would agree with my reading of Saturn as the god of time, plenty, and Bel. Ing represents the surrender to love, which to me is at the heart of what Islam is about. If we're going to surrender to the absolute, surely the absolute is love. And there's so many clues in the Quran, and in my commentary I've gone into them all, that God is the compassionate and the merciful. I have the 99 Names of God here on a wonderful poster that I bought when I was teaching in the Islamic college, and many of the names are to do with love, compassion, mercy. Muhammad knew, and his wife, Khadija, who inspired him in his early spiritual searching, who was very influenced by Gnostic Christianity, that the highest power behind the universe is actually love. And therefore, if we're going to surrender, we have to surrender to that, not to violence. And so this was known by the Anglo-Saxons as well. The origin of the word English, England, is related to this rune. And it represents love, which is far more fun. Having a love affair with someone is far more interesting than having a war affair. Violence. It's more respectful, more appreciative. And I call it a wisdom affair, having a wisdom affair with someone. It might not be a physical affair, but it can be an intellectual love affair, like a platonic affair. Why can't all the Israeli people and all the Palestinian people have a wisdom affair with each other? Surely that would be much, much better than what we're doing at the moment. And I have to say that the Palestinian people I've met are incredibly intelligent, unbelievably amazing, intelligent. And the only other people I know on the planet as intelligent are the Jewish people, who are the same. So they're like the right and the left hand. They ought to get together and be friends. So that would be the Ing thing. And that's why the shape of it is these two halves that mirror each other. They're coiled around each other like DNA. And that is what we are. We come from our parents' love affairs, who created our DNA. We pass it on to our children. And it represents that coiled upness of being, which is about love. So that's the solution. That's brilliant, that rune. Thank you very much for that. And then we have, what's the other one? Oh yes, okay, well this is the answer. This is Fehu, which is the first rune in the book, and represents F, the letter F, or F, and represents fertility and wealth and fecundity and all the good things that flow from fertility and peace. It brings wealth and prosperity to humanity. Even old Zoroaster, a prophet from Persia who I greatly respect, he's always saying this in his gathas. He's saying, stop killing the cows. Stop warring against the cow people, which is his tribe. And these people were coming and stealing them and using weapons to destroy everyone. No, how can we milk the cows if you kill them all? It's very simple. So the Israeli economy is going down because of this war they're waging in Gaza. They're spending millions on killing these people. Instead of, they should have been spending a few millions on persuading them through, through educational work, not to keep going the path of violence. With all due respect, if Israel had translated my commentary on the Quran into Arabic and gave a copy to all the people in Gaza, they would have stopped this nonsense 10 years ago. Well, 3 years ago when it was finished. And likewise, if a copy was given to every Israeli citizen, their attitude towards Islam would be entirely different. They no longer see it as a threat to be attacked or afraid of or hated. They would realise they're their long-lost brothers and sisters, the Muslims, and they're descendants of Ishmael, the other lineage from Abraham, They're literally long lost family members, these people. And if we're going to be loyal to truth, we should therefore make friends with our brothers and sisters, and the Christians as well, because they're inheritors of the tribe of descent from Abraham by faith, as Paul points out. You don't have to be literally a descendant of Abraham. It comes from faith. And that way leads to prosperity for all. Because to say that the war is damaging the Gazan economy is like obvious. It's destroyed 70% of the homes. It's killed 25,000, probably 30,000 people, including all the ones in the rubble. Those are the future of Gaza, all just gone up in smoke. Let's stop it before more get killed. And let's help them rebuild their beautiful country, which I would like to see as one state between Gaza and the West Bank. And in the Netanyahu-Trump peace plan, they said, let's have a railway going between the two parts. Let's build a port. Let's have an airport near Jerusalem. You know, let's get back on the peace track. That's Fehu. That's what that's about. And I follow that teaching. I think it's really important, because that's the way to prosperity. And the way to what we're doing is just falling apart into death and destruction, and is not making possible the actual, peace and prosperity that we want as a planet. It's destroying the economy. And so I'm giving a talk in a few weeks' time to the American team that want an American Department of Peace Building. And there's a bill before Congress that it would balance the Pentagon. It's not in America's interests that all these wars are going on, because they're forking out the weapons. In a misguided way, they're funding Israel exclusively. I mean, I think America should have been funding peace in the Middle East and helping through education, encouraging student exchanges, university students from both Palestine and Israel to do peace studies so they learn about each other's perspectives. And in my field of theology, they should have been encouraging interfaith peace theology, which is what I'm talking about, for advanced Israeli and Palestinian students to come to places like the University of London or Oxford or wherever and study this stuff in depth. That would have been a much cheaper investment and bring much more returns than the path of militarization and chaotic military spending. Another scholar has just recently published something. She's an economist at Harvard who's gone into how America's funding all this military spending. And what they're doing is they're using the ghost economy. There's a thing being invented by military economists that the budget spending of military is no longer showing up in the main budget of the American state. They've got it sort of as an appendix in what's called the ghost economy, with trillions being spent, like on the Afghan war, the Iraq war, now helping Israel. And it's all sort of shunted aside to the ghost economy, and it's all just like fictional money, it's electronic money. But it has real implications. And that can't go on. I mean, we've got to get back to some real economics here and realise, as Fehu wants us to know, that true wealth comes from peace and love. It's as simple as that, but as important as that. Okay, so that's what we've got from our rooms. I think each in their own way, these three tools which enable us to look at this predicament as a planet, they would all concur, I think. And this is why China, bless it, going back to Lao Tzu, we started with the Taoists, why China doesn't really want these wars. I mean, I know that some people want a war with China in the West, but that's just as stupid as Steve Bannon is stupid. Only those kind of crazy people want that. What China wants in its policy, and if you listen to the speech by the Chinese foreign minister at the UN General Assembly, which I listened in September last year, they made clear what they want, is they want peace. It's in China's economic interest that peace should prevail in the world. They just want to make more goods and sell them, and And what's wrong with that? I use a Chinese-made laptop, Lenovo, works fine. What isn't in China's interest is to see these wars carry on and flourish. China has friends among both Israelis and Palestinians and wants peace, likewise in the Ukraine-Russia war. So I have friends in China that teach peace studies. We're pulling our hair out how to get these people round the table again. So that's the priority, I think, for this coming year. Prioritise peace. That leads to wealth for everyone. And don't listen to the warmongers who say otherwise. But of course, all the above is just one person's attempt to summarise this all. That the eternal truth cannot be said or written down. So you have to find it yourself. That's the, work it out yourself. But this is how I see it, based on many, many years of thought and study and reflection. Okay. Any final questions or comments or observations?
Well, I was going to say pretty much the same thing of the eternal truth, like we began with, isn't written down, or when it gets written down becomes diffused, and the light of the sun, shines all over. But it's only when you stand in the way that the shadow is cast. So what we need to remember is that light is eternal, and however you want to place that light for yourself to find it is the eternal truth. And it reminded me of Rumi, how the doors, fling open, but those doors are within, and you open that gate within you to open that.
So we can all do something.
Absolutely.
We can open up our
exactly
spiritual gate, our emotional gate,
exactly.
our heart,
that
and
connection
our intellectual gate.
Exactly.
So people that listen to these talks can study and open their minds, really. That's why we have that phrase in English, to open your mind.
Indeed.
It's a sort of the thing, isn't it? Yeah. And the arts are key also, aren't they, Sophia? Because the eternal truth can sometimes be spoken through the arts.
Absolutely.
And that's why I'm working with the Delphic Games, which is a revived version of the ancient Delphic Games, which lasted 1,000 years. We've revived it now, and we want to see it as popular as the Olympic Games. Much as I love the Olympic Games, they're all about sport and winning and being faster or stronger or whatever than other people. I think the arts can help calm everyone down. Let's have competitions of musicians and choirs and friendly ones. No prize money, you just get a laurel wreath to wear. That's how they did it in the Delphic Games. And I'd love to see that with dancers, different forms of music, folk music and classical music of all types, world music, and poetry, which is another way of speaking the eternal truth in analogies and images and symbols. So, yes. Right, well, thank you for that. Yeah, okay, blessings. We'll finish there, and if anyone wants to, leave a message for me, that would be great. And thanks. Let's hope that, these things move on in the right direction.